Hello, and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. This is Jeremiah, being your host. David's not here because he's a punk and he quit life.
Taking over.
Yeah, so we're bringing JT on. He's the new co-host. Screw you, David. You're the worst host in the world.
Come back next week. Yeah, you're out of a job. We brought in this temp. He was awesome.
He told me I could. He's like, you should rename the episode. David sucks as a co-host. I was like, I'll do it. I'll name it. I'm not afraid, man. I'll do it. But
like Portal 2, like when I start saying Wheatley Laboratories, like next week it's the JT show.
yeah. I want to get one of those shirts. I've got an Aperture Science shirt, but I want to get one of those Wheatley ones too.
Dude, I had to explain Wheatley to Dave in the car today. It's like, how do you like he was designed to be a moron. Like even GLaDOS says, like, you're not just any moron. You were designed to be a moron. I love it.
It's awesome. Great. That character like made that whole game. Who's the voice actor that does that? What's his name?
I don't know. I looked it up back then because he was so good, but
yeah, and he hangs out with Ricky Gervais a lot. They did Idiot Abroad. Have you ever seen Idiot Abroad?
Oh,
it's good. The whole concept is that they found this guy, Carl Pinkington, something like that. It's an English name, and this guy is just like this. He's like a I guess they say he typifies the kind of like the rednecks of London, but for them they're more like hobbits. It's what hobbits were based off of. They don't like going out of their areas. They they're comfortable at home. They like good food and simple lives. And so they got this guy, and they pay a lot of money to just send him abroad and like put him in uncomfortable situations, and they film him. It's hilarious. He got like a shiatsu massage, and obviously, things that you hate there. He goes to India, and he just asks the dumbest questions. He's just like, why would you want to take a bus when you can walk? It doesn't make any sense. Look at them, they're all suffering on. I mean, I would never want to be that close to someone. And like, it's just the whole show is pretty hilarious, but they really pick on that guy. But that guy, Wheatley is he's one of the guys who helps pick on him. It's pretty funny.
Oh God, well, okay.
I know it's kind of bullying.
Video games as comfort.
Video games. Yeah, so we're
not gonna. I use some now. He's all deranged and depressed.
I know. I don't know how he does. He's like super resilient, because I would be depressed if I was in those situations. I'm miserable. I know there's a camera on me where other people are laughing at me, and you just kind of hate life. But
probably about to slit his wrist each week until he gets his paycheck. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, so he's like, I can afford this. This is fun with me. But yeah, video games is comfort. So
not just fun. Like
yeah.
It's such potential for being depressed. Cause like everyone plays video games for fun, but the only time you really do it for comfort is when you're not happy.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I was trying to think of like a couple different times people will do this, because I looked into gaming motivation for a while in my research. And I thought, comfort is something that they touch on, and people are weird. Video game research is a little, everywhere right now, so it needs to be cleaned up a bit. So nobody's gone about this exactly the same way.
You are the researcher that video game research needs.
Yeah. I'm I don't know how to make The Dark Knight clever and fit in there. By the way, dude, I just went and saw a stand-up comedy last night for me and Amy's anniversary. It was pretty fun. Off topic, man. Yeah.
Cool. Who'd you see?
It was a contest where you had to vote for the right one. It doesn't matter anyway. So sometimes I stray. David's usually the one who pulls me back. There you go. But yeah, so games is comfort though. Like are we talking about like whenever you're having like when you're pissed off and you're like having a bad day, or is it like you're sad and depressed?
I do both, honestly. Yeah, I'm looking for ways to not like, well, from me personally, because but there's really no way to talk about this in a broad way. It seems you can only talk about it personally. Yeah, like okay, like we always talk about back in high school when like you and I got into gaming.
Yeah.
I know me and David for sure, and you to an extent, even though like you tend to be more analytical, but like I would just sit and daydream in class. Like I've got all these great other places I just want to imagine I can be, and people who like that tend to not be as socially active like I was, and I didn't know how to interact socially in high school at all. Like I was really, really lonely, and so like go home and pop in Final Fantasy VI, like now I'm a hero, now my life is important. I mean something to some people. Like I have. People need me, and it was kind of an escape.
Dude, that's funny. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say that's a good thing, but then I know people get addicted to that, so much so. Yeah, it's like an Inception. Like they come here to wake up. like they don't ever want to go back to the world that depresses them. They want to stay in this world where they do mean something to the world, and they can be saving the world.
Shit, that is depressing, man. Jesus.
But like it's true though. Like you're gonna say something about you.
Well, yeah. Actually, I was gonna touch on that first because I did the same thing. Like I was awkward as shit as a kid. Like I mean, when I was growing up, my mom is the greatest mom in the world. Or the worst mom, and I'm not sure because she was like my biggest fan, right? No matter what I did, she was like, "Oh, it's great." And if like somebody picked on me at school or something, she's like, "They're just jealous," and she really put it in my head to the point where I was like, "I'm like the world's best kept secret. I'm awesome, but for some reason nobody knows it." And so like it was a very impractical way to bring me up. But on the other hand, like I was very resilient to like people picking on me and stuff. But unfortunately, she also, oh man, I used to have like these big glasses and like this hair and wear mock turtlenecks. Like what? I don't know. And we didn't have any money. Like whenever
Justin Timberlake would have been proud.
He would have. But yeah, I mean, like we didn't have much money. Like when I was real young, my mom, gosh, she worked like this job. Actually, it's right near where you worked, National Supply Company. Remember that place?
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's this little like supply company for building houses, and she was just like a clerical work. So I mean, made almost no money, and so we couldn't afford much clothes. So I was super awkward in general. Like I was, and I was kind of funny, but nobody knew it. And if someone makes a joke that you don't like, you don't laugh. And so like if it's somebody who's like really weird and they don't deliver with confidence, they're kind of like, hey, it's weird. Whenever people sniff their fingers after they scratch their butts. And you're like, dude, that's a weird thing to say. Shut up, weird kid. Rather than like if it's like someone who says it like funny and you're like, have you ever just like scratched your ass and all of a sudden you're like, you look around and you don't want to admit it, but you kind of smell your finger. Like that would be a little funnier. But anyway, the point is I would go home and I also played video games, especially like I would play like Ninja Gaiden and stuff, like the old school games, the hard ones. But as soon as I found out about RPGs, I was just drawn to them. And that's funny because I just came across a paper 2 weeks ago where they found that people who game for to fill social holes, let's say their normal life is they rated that they have less friends and they spend less time doing things with friends, are more drawn to RPGs. And in the discussion, because they don't know why, but they philosophized that maybe that's because you feel like you're in a narrative and it's meaningful. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I felt. Relying on games back in the day. Like I didn't feel like I was important to anybody at my school or anybody in my immediate vicinity. But yeah, if I played an RPG, it's like, oh wow, now I'm saving the world. This is cool. And at least for me, like it never got to the point where I was like, I need this. I want nothing else. I can fuck the real world. But I can see how it would to some people. Yeah. And I was just actually sitting here thinking while you're talking. Okay, because like, back in high school, like we played basketball, and I could do one thing really well, and it was shoot. And it's because whenever I was down, like I would go out and shoot like obsessively. I've got a really obsessive personality. But it was calming. Like back in the day, okay, a chance to brag to all the people watching the thing about sports, which no one watches your channel for. But like to this day, I can probably still shoot a better free throw percentage with my eyes closed than most Division I college basketball players with their eyes open. Like just because I did it over and over and over again because the repetition was calming to me. And that's acceptable. Like in life, people look at someone like that. It's like, oh, you're dedicated to the sport, man. You live for the game.
Yeah. You're hardcore.
Yeah, so the same thing now. If I'm depressed, I'll log into League of Legends and I won't play other players. I'll just load up a bot game and I'll sit around practicing my micro and last hitting, which I'm now really good at. I'm a really mechanically skilled player. But people look at that like, oh man, you're just obsessed with that game. What the fuck, man? And it's so weird because it's like both are the same reason. Both are something you do for fun. It's something I do obsessively to calm myself. But like one is totally cool, but the other one's not. One's a waste of a life. The other one's like, oh man, you're the shit. Why? It just kills me.
It's such bullshit, man. And it's starting to become cooler, but now, or more socially acceptable, but it's still a long ways off. And, people said that on the Facebook group. I asked this question to everyone. I was like, you guys have any ideas of, this topic before we start talking about it? People said the same thing. Like there are certain games they play or certain ways that they play. And it sounds like competitive wasn't something that you were interested in whenever if you're feeling down. Is that true? And why?
Just because I'm scared of being competitive. Like if I fail, then I let other people down.
Yeah, Yeah.
But if I'm just saying they're shooting free throws, it's just me and the ball. Like it took me a long time playing basketball before I wanted to go and compete. And even then, like you and I, we sat on the bench initially, even though we were better than some of the freaking starters.
Yeah.
The coach's kid got to start, and he was so bad. And I'm like,
Fuck.
I'm the best shooter on earth. Put me in the game.
Was it Jamie? Was that it?
Yeah, it was Jamie. He was terrible.
Oh,
Coach's son. What can you do?
yeah.
But yeah, and even in league now, like I've really got to be in a good mood before I go play competitive. Like that's not what's important to me. Like yeah, I know I can outplay people, but like I just want to get better at the micro. Like I just want it to be me in the game a lot of the times.
Yeah, like you bring it down to like simplicity. I'm the same way. Like I'll play heroes, but I'll play like bots if I have to play something. And my go-to is like it's the same thing. Like people asked. This came up like yesterday because my nephew's over and he does this thing where he repeats things a lot. He says like
So you're saying he repeats things a lot?
He repeats things a lot. Yeah, my nephew does.
Okay.
My nephew, yeah, he's over, he repeats things a lot. Anyway, well, he like this morning, for example, we went to Big Bad Breakfast. We brought him to like this, cool little. Or no, that was yesterday. We brought him this cool little joint that it's got really good breakfast food, and we bring all our guests there at some point. And he was just eating butter, and he kept saying butter, 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 and he just licked his fingers. He'd just get his fingers like with butter on them. He's like grabbing a huge chunk every time. He's just like doing that, licking his fingers, butter, 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 and he does these behaviors a lot, these repetitive behaviors. And so Amy had asked about that. She's just like, what does psychology have to say about that? And I was like, well, repetitive behaviors in general, like with like people with my nephew does not have intellectual disabilities, but I mean with people with intellectual disabilities or apes or anybody, like it's something we inherently do. Even kids, like they like to do repetitive things, and doing them brings comfort, but having someone else say things over and over again, that's after a while you're like,
can it go to an obsessive level? Like I remember reading about Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, the NBA player, who's a really good shooter. But isn't that what Tourette syndrome really is? Or am I completely off base there? Like where you obsessively like do something over and over and over again, not like to where it's like OCD. Or am I crazy? I think that's what I read.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about Tourette's. I worked with one guy that had Tourette's when I worked at a facility for intellectual disabilities, and I didn't get a lot of chance to read up on it because it was like a week before I left. So I don't know, but my understanding of Tourette's is it's a lot of motor tics, like tics that you do with your body, and then like shrugging your shoulders or like an eye tic, and then you occasionally cuss as well. But most of it is these tics. But the most popular part is obviously if they're just like, "Hey, pass the butter," fuck, then that makes that makes the headlines.
Okay, Wikipedia says you're right. Okay.
All right. Oh yes. Well, there you go. Wikipedia's the expert. I'm just some guy. But no. Yeah. So these behaviors that we do repetitively, actually, like it's like whenever you're sad. Have you ever been like, oh, dude? Have you ever been like ugly face, cry, sad, and you just have you ever like found yourself kind of rocking like this?
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, me too. I've done that too. Like, and I think that I've never seen research on this, but doing repetitive things or being rocked, and that thing is calming to us. Like when parents, when they rock the baby, they've tried everything. When you toss your baby, whatever it is, if it's over and over again, then it's comforting to us because there's no anything where you're kind of hit in a lot of different angles and there's unexpected. It can bring up anxiety, but something that is coming, and like music has like a some people say that music is calming. Because it has like a predictive, and they have repetitive, what are those called, chords and things, but
chord progressions, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like and whatever that is when it goes dun 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 or whatever, it's like this, it's coming and it's pleasing to your brain because you're like, oh, this is great. But I think that might be it. Why we take such simple tasks when we're playing. I don't know.
Right. Okay, so then how do you reconcile this? Because we've established that at least you and I, it's so hard. It's like I'm hoping everybody else relates to what we do because all we can really talk about is how it personally strikes us. But we've talked about how we want it to be just us in the game when we're playing for comfort. If we're feeling alone, we log into an RPG and feel connected to this other world that isn't necessarily the one we don't feel connected to all the time. Or if we're feeling down, we log in and we do something repetitive to augment skill or just because it's repetitive. And we talked about how when we're in that state of mind, like we both said with Heroes of the Storm, like, oh man, I don't feel like playing ranked tonight. Like you got to be like in a good place to want to go out and compete against other people. But we still fucking want to compete. Like at basketball, we both still wanted to compete once we got there. We both want to compete at Heroes. Like it's one of the things like Michael and I differ. She'll like, I'll be like, oh, this person's doing stupid shit. It's like, well, maybe they're not playing to compete. Like, what are they doing in fucking ranked? There's casuals for that shit. Okay, so but then. God, what makes us really want that competitive thing with something that's so calming usually?
I don't know, man. Like I don't know if that's a competition and competitiveness is like something we know some things feed into it, but we don't have the whole picture of the pie. So like let's say psychology, we've discovered maybe 38% of what drives competitive people. There's still all that other stuff. It's like, is that all genetics or is that just more stuff we haven't gotten covered yet in some genetics? I don't know, dude. It's an interesting question, but I have the same thing. I get anytime I start doing something. Tell me if you're this way too. Like anytime I start doing something, I love this learning phase. So you start doing it, and like I started with Heroes, and I just kept hitting Q, and I just kept playing, and thinking, oh, this is great, and learning, and then there's a point as soon as I go, I think I get this game, and then the next thought is, I want to see how good I am versus other people. Like I did this in jiu-jitsu too. True. Like I started and I was like, how do I do this move? What do I do when I'm in this position? How do I get that guy on the ground if he knows I'm going to go for his legs? What do I do here? And then now that I know a lot of stuff, I'm like, hey, when's the next competition? I think I want to go roll. I want to go test myself. Do you do that?
Yeah. No, definitely once I get good. The intro in it, like, especially with games with a high learning curve as League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm, like I'm really reticent to get in. But once I'm confident that I'm competent, then I want to get in and start playing against other people, and show my cool moves.
Yeah, and that's part of it. And there's something about, man, and this is a little off talk, but there's something that's cool about having your friends around whenever you pull off sweet moves, like
yes.
Like when Zeratul, for example, when you like pop in, finish someone off, and pop out, like you think that would be good for a comforting thing, but I think it's just the chance you might lose that scares it away. I think.
Okay, so which scratches your competitive itch better? Team games like Heroes of the Storm, where it's 5-on-5, or single player games where it's just you, where if you lose, for sure it's your fault you lose, and when you win, it's for goddamn sure your fault you won.
Man, that's a really good question. Probably, I mean, I think it'd be 1-on-1, but on the other hand, playing with my friends, I find myself doing that more. Like StarCraft, I'm good at StarCraft, and I don't play that much anymore at all. But I play Heroes, and I just played a game where I lost, and my rank went down because these two jackasses, this Murden, they just ran forward and like past the enemy team. They threw the game on purpose because they got upset at some other player. Kael'thas kept dying. He was 1-6, but he was trying to learn. I was like, oh, you'll definitely throw the game if you guys do that. So
like if someone's playing bad and they're like, holy shit, I'm sorry, I'm trying to learn, then I'm cool. Then I'm like, hey, try this. Here, come with us. We're gonna carry you.
Yeah.
Then I go into like everything I've learned, everything I've applied, like zoning, and like we're gonna do this. Like otherwise I'm just like, just dicking around. But if like they suck ass and they think they're the greatest thing to ever happen and they so clearly suck ass, I'm like, then that just drives me up the fucking wall.
Yeah, that is insane. And I think there's different kinds of motivations. I've been wondering about this too. Like, let's say you play games for a certain reason, and you find that people will kind of play different games for different reasons. But there's kind of three. There's different papers that talk about different ways, but there's three kind of reasons why people play some games, and it's achievement, social, and what was the third one? Hold on, I think I have the paper pulled up somewhere.
I feel like I play games for achievement and social, but I feel like I prefer social. Well, the thing is, like, I prefer social with you, David, and Tim, and maybe a few other people. Like, even with the other people I'll do social gaming with, it's nowhere near as cool as it's always been with you guys. Like, you guys, I don't know what it is. Like, I just like WoW back in the day. That was the best freaking thing, right? But like, if I'm not doing it with like you guys, then it's achievement.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, and the third one was immersion. But
oh my god, okay, immersion first of all. I love immersion.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
And we talked about this before. Like, if I can make my own character, I won't make a black character or a female. Like, nothing against racial minorities or women. It's just like it makes it harder for me to imagine myself in that shoes because I'm not black or female.
yeah,
Like, I'll make short characters even because, like, I'm serious. I always make short characters. Like, I'm short.
yeah, it makes it difficult for people who play for immersion reasons to get into the game. And what's funny is people who who fell high on immersion type things. This is another study, but I can recall this one where when they fell high into immersion, they felt that they connected with their character. Trolling goes way down. Like there's something about those two things that are different. So trolls are people who don't connect with characters,
right?
And they just play the game and they're out about themselves. And for some reason, people who typically play games and connect with characters,
like if you bump into Princess YOLO swag, they're not in the game for immersion.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of this kind of makes sense, but
oh man, okay. I can actually think of a popular example from recently. That's like I guess the exception that proves the rule. Okay, in a League of Legends, if you're trying to go back to base, if you get displaced, it cancels your recall, right?
Okay.
So there's this character Trundle who can make this pillar of ice come up from the ground, and it displaces allies and enemies alike.
Oh.
So at the beginning of the game, there's this Trundle player, and it's high level Elo, where he's like, I'm a health instructor, and I'm here to help all of you guys get in shape one by one. We'll see who gets chosen for my program. So the first person to say something negative to a teammate was this top lane Annie. It's like, you've been chosen for the program. We're gonna get you into shape, girl. So he goes to top lane with her, and every time she tries to recall, he pillars. He's like, no, run back. It's good for your health. Like, stayed there with her the whole time and wouldn't let her recall. I was like, it's trolling, but at the same time,
it's like trolling for justice.
Yeah, like, well done.
Yeah. It's like the Dexter, you know? He's doing the wrong thing, but he's doing it in the right ways for the right reasons.
Yeah, and like actually, now that you talk about it, like there's always kind of a special place in my heart for trolls who do it creatively and with immersion. It's the trolls who are running around like just trolling out of character that bother me, but they do it in character. I don't mind so much.
Yeah, me too. I ain't even mad at that. Like Stitches one time got the helping hand hook, you know, where you can you throw this hook out and you can grab enemies and pull them in. But if you get the specific talent, you can throw it and grab your friends and bring it in. And this asshole kept doing it to me when I was I was Rhaegar and I was like taking camps, and he pulled me out of the camp and he's like, careful. And he grabbed me and pulled me back. And I'm like, the whole team's dead. Stop. And he's like, okay. And he run around and
killed.
Yeah, I know. And the whole team was dead. And what's funny is this is back when Hook was on a lower cooldown. So he'd do it all the time. And he was good. Like he was like as good as you are with that hook. He could get me anywhere.
Aww.
He kept pulling me with it. I'm like, stop. And he's like, get behind this wall. It's safe. And he body blocked me. And I'm like, stop, dude. But I wasn't even mad. That guy was hilarious. I was like laughing. But,
oh my God. That's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely immersion for me. I don't know, like, I like achievement. Like, I don't know. I like it best when the achievement comes in the form of immersion. Like,
yeah.
I remember, like, there's one time in World of Warcraft, we were, like, level 27. And, like, you remember back, like, I was doing Ereldor, and, like, I wouldn't go shadow form. So, like, you know, he's totally like, good and pure. He would never do that. He's the incorruptible. Yeah. Like, I leveled as fucking holy build. It took goddamn ever. But I did it. But anyway, it's like
stuff. Yeah. You're, like, level 50 using Smite. Oh my God.
So we're like level 27, and there's like a quest in whatever the haunted village was. That was just like south of Stormwind.
Oh, like Mercury or something.
Yeah, something like that. There's like a hut with a ghost and like a guy in it, and it's like, and so it's the four of us. We're like, we're gonna go get this guy. Like everyone else would just be like looking for group, like go up and kill him, call it good. We're like, no. We like met in the tavern, role played it, and then we slow walked all the way there, like role playing the entire time. We get up there, like we bust out our weapons, like all slow, like let's do this. We killed him, like wiped the blood off our weapons, like walked back. Like, yeah, we got the achievement, but it meant so much more for me because we were immersed in the characters.
Yeah, that was awesome. I did that in the enemy base one time on Capture the Flag on Warsong Gulch. I just did the slow walk as my paladin, and I was like, yes. And then when they started hitting me, I bubbled myself and I kept walking, and then I did my whatever ultimate too. I can't remember what it's called, but my super bubble, and just so I could grab the flag as I'm slow walking, turn around and slow walk out. It was hilarious. Oh man,
I miss doing that shit. Like when the four of us get together and dedicate ourselves to a game, because we're all relatively smart and we all have good mechanics, we played video games our whole life. Like I remember back in the days with World of Warcraft, we'd break off from the initial Zerg and Warsong Gulch and do like 3 versus 10 or 4 versus 10, and either put a huge dent in the enemy Zerg or flat out beat them.
Yeah,
like, we did. And I've been doing World vs. World and Guild Wars 2 lately. I'm like, man, the guys need to be here. We'd be so good at this because it's all tactics. Like once you get it, like it's knowing what to do, like what stuff to put down, which points to take, so you can get supplies and go take somewhere else with your flame rams and shit.
yeah.
But it makes me love Heroes of the Storm too.
There really is something about that, and it's also because we know each other. Like I tend to like if something, man, like I don't know, I can just read what people are gonna do because I know you guys in real life. So like, you know, like if you're Zeratul, for example, and someone gets behind the wall, I'm like, $20 says he's about to flash back there, finish the guy in flashback. And so like to know that you're gonna do that, I know where to go if I'm support or tank. I body block where you're gonna teleport back, stuff like that. Like knowing how the people play in general, and then the person, it translates across games, you know.
Perfect example. Okay, and I love telling this story. So World of Warcraft, we used to play on a PvE server because we just like, you know, role playing and then doing dungeons. Not Jeremiah. Jeremiah would run around on this PvE server on his paladin with his PvP flag up at all times, like just inviting people to jump him, right? So we're sitting around waiting to do Zulfaric, and we see Jeremiah type help. Because he's on his way to join us there. And David and I both immediately realized something. We realized he didn't capitalize the H. And like normally when Jeremiah types, like his grammar is really good. He's an academic, like the rest of us. Like we want to like at least look like we're smart. But like it was all lowercase, no punctuation. And like David and I, like without knowing anything, because we talked about it later, like immediately knew like something's fucking wrong just on that alone. So we immediately like mounted up, burned all our speed boosts, and got out. And sure enough, there's like 5 people chasing Jeremiah. He's like all slowed as a paladin. He's like red health. He's burned all his bubbles. It's like I dismount and I'm spamming shield and flash shield. And we actually rescued you and beat 5 people with 3 of us. So, like that was such a good moment. But like, yeah, stuff like that where like you know how the person plays. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I tend to do dumb things that, and I think all of us do this, but I tend to do dumb things where if it would make a good story, I do it. And so like I was running across and I see this is how I got into this problem. I'm riding across these, you know, like dunes, and there's this one particularly tall dune. And when I come around it, I've got my PvP flag and I see a troll. And I thought he was all by himself. I didn't know the rest of them were. And so I look at this troll, and you know, he stops, he's killing something, and he turns around and he looks at me like all slow, and his character doesn't move. He's just staring at me. And so I was like, I dismounted, and then I walked up to him like the slow walk, and then I salute him, like, and then I proceeded to walk off, got on my mount, and then I started riding, and then he attacked me, and then all these guys poured out from around. I was like, oh, and then I knew I was in trouble because I was, you know, you can't mount up when you're being attacked, and I'm just like, and I just hit enter and help, and then enter. Yeah, and then next thing I know, like I didn't even see you guys coming. That's the best part, because like I'm running, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna make it, and like because I had like half health and I burned all my bubbles, so I actually turned around. And I was like, I'm gonna do some damage before I die, and so like I do like a couple of hits, and I'm like, ah, and I just start going off, and then I'm like, that's it. I think I can't remember if it was this time or maybe it was the time we were PvPing in like a battleground, but I actually took my hands off like this and went, oh man, you know, it stopped playing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this bubble appears around me, and I'm like, I was a lot of bubbles, what? And then my health starts going up fast, all these flash heals. I was like, oh, and I was like, I have to fight. The smart thing to do there is for us to run, but we had to fight because it was a cooler story.
Oh, it was so good. And like they didn't even get one of us. Like we dropped all 5 of them, and all of us lived.
Oh man, that was great.
So good. And see, and that's the thing. Like, I love like for Hearthstone. Like I like winning games at Hearthstone. But like winning with my friends, or even losing with my friends half the time, is just so much more rewarding. Like yeah, like I'll take that any day. Like I'd rather be mediocre with friends.
Yeah, that's what we should call the episode. I'd rather be mediocre with friends.
With friends, but it's so true. Because like, like in the beginning, like you and David hadn't played MOBAs before, and like it was worth it to me playing like, oh, like you know, there's David and Jeremiah playing a carry in the front of the formation. I'm like, oh, but like, like it was just worth it. I would rather have played with you guys, like, because especially with you guys, because I know if you like keep playing, you're gonna get good. And like now you are, like we were laning against each other the other day, and like you beat me both fucking characters.
That was fun. Okay.
And normally I'm really a strong laner.
Yeah, I think it's just I play more hero games, but I think your mechanics are more solid. I just know the characters a little better at this point.
Maybe I know my mechanics are good, but like whenever we play game and someone's got to do a 1v2 lane, I'm always like, I'll do it. Like let me 1v2.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fun. Like, and the funny thing is, I don't play game. Whenever I saw this achievement thing, I was like, I don't play games for achievement. I don't give a shit what I'm wearing. Like, whenever we used to raid in like World of Warcraft or like, or even like, I don't care what my, person's wearing or that I won a certain dungeon. Mine is just about, I guess it's immersion and social because I like playing with my friends and I like playing in the world, and doing cool stuff with the workspace that we've got, and the fantasy that we've got. But yeah, achievement, I don't give a shit about. Whenever you're like, hey, look at this awesome hat I won because I did this battleground 4 times, and wiped 3 times. I'm like, that sounds like a horrible experience. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, if there's any achievement I care about, it's like killing the last boss. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, if I did it with my friends, like, that's okay. That's even better. But yeah, like when they got like this list of achievements like on Steam or Xbox, like I know people like achievement hunt. I can't do it. I know David does. David's a completionist. He wants every medal he can get.
I know he did. He got that one where if you complete, I think this is right. If you complete every quest in the entire game, you get it. He spent like a lot of real life time doing that, and for him it was worth it. But for me, I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I stayed up till 6 a.m. last night." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" He's like, "No, I had this whole area, but I cleared a whole area of quests." I'm like, "You're level 60 at the time." That was the cat. I was like, "You're level 60. What are you doing in a level 12 zone?" And he's like, "Well, I had to do them all." And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I don't get it. I'm not saying it's worse or I just does not resonate with me.
Everybody, it's what everybody else enjoys, I guess.
Yeah.
No, but then that's okay. So what we're talking about is playing games for fun. We're talking about how we enjoy them most. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems like there's a lot of crossover with how we play games for fun and how we play games for comfort, but not entirely. Like, there's certain things mean more to me when I'm playing for comfort.
Well, what's funny is you said you picked League of Legends, and I've been thinking about something that I don't know if there's any research on this. I've never come across it, but it feels like you pick something that you're good at or something you've practiced, and then you do it, but not in a situation where you could fail. It almost is like reminds you that you've got something worthwhile. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I have these mechanical skills, or I've got this whatever, and it's something that I've achieved at. You know what I mean? Like, because depression usually makes you feel worthless. So
yeah. So you put yourself in a place where you're guaranteed to succeed.
Yeah,
against a bot game you can't lose.
With like a skill, like you pick League of Legends and not something else with bots, and I think it's because like you didn't play like Team Fortress 2, for example, because even against bots, because can you play against bots? Yeah, I think you can now. But anyway.
Or like take something like Quake. Quake you can play against bots. We played Quake back in the day.
Yeah, and you didn't play that because I think so what you do generally with depression is one of the first things you do, one of the first modules you do is behavioral activation, which means like get them up doing things that are will give them a sense of worth, or like just so whether it's exercise is a great one, but like say like what is something that means something to you, and then take the smallest, safest, tiniest step towards it. And I mean tiny. I mean, if someone's like, I just want to get up earlier, I'm like, do this then. Set your alarm, hit it, and literally just open your eyes, look over at the floor, and then close your eyes. That's all you got to do. That's your win condition. And then if they do that, you call them the next day. You go, great, good, you did. This time, I want you to do the same thing. And then how hard was that? If it wasn't that hard, then you're like, great, just look at the floor. Just point your finger at it. Don't even touch it. Just point your finger at it and then roll back over. You don't have to get up. And a lot of times you see people actually end up getting up after this. But if they can't, they just keep moving along this line. Eventually, they put both feet down, and then they roll back in bed. And as long as they're considering those successes, because most people start cutting themselves out when you're depressed. When you're depressed, you could like go out and fucking move the world. I've seen people do this. They're like, oh man, I saved a bunch of lives today. I'm an ER doctor, and I'm so depressed. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, I could have saved more. And then there was this guy that came in, and I didn't save him. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You saved lives, but it's about a distortion of your perception. And so if you can get more of these wins and turn things into wins, even simple things, it starts helping. So I wonder if that's not here. It's like giving yourself the simplest, smallest competition or chance to display your skill,
God, man, I hate keeping things so personal, but like it's just what comes up. So you were with me at American Atheist. I'm a writer and a speaker for a living, and within the niche that I'm known for on the internet, like I'm pretty popular. If I go to speak at a conference, like everyone comes up like, I love your work and you're great. And it's like I can be in that environment And for those who watching know, I have a history of clinical depression amongst other things. And if I'm at bottom, like I go back to my room and I'm like, man, nobody loves me. Like I mean nothing to the world, even though I was just out there, like getting all this reinforcement. And it's so hard when I write about mental illness and depression to like convey what that's like. But then I go and like just load up a bot game where I can't even lose, where I'm just stomping bots. I'd be like, man, I had 100 CS by 12 minutes. Like not a whole lot of people can do that even against bots. So man, I'm okay. Maybe shit's not so bad. It's really weird.
Oh, is it? Maybe there's some like. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said the shitty thing is then, like the next day when I wake up, I'm like, man, I don't want to go talk to people. I'm just gonna feel alone and worthless. I don't sit here and do this again. And so it kind of like you kind of come to value the condition so much so that it destroys you. It's really weird. But it eats you that way.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like everyone sees like the video games as complicit. Like the video games are what's causing this. Like no, if it wasn't the video games, it would be Legos. It would be whatever gives me value where I'm not out feeling alone and worthless. Like just video games are it. But yeah, everyone's like, oh, video games just addict you, and they make you feel this way. Like, no, you feel this way beforehand. Like the condition is the problem, not the way you express it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's funny because someone, let me see, someone in the Facebook group was talking about this too. They said that they play, yeah, like they play like simple games you get lost in. Like someone said Fallout 3, and I identified that as. I was like, yeah, I would do that too. I'll play these like right now I'm playing Witcher 3, and it's this like world, huge world you can like roam around in, and you can kind of get lost in it, and it just helps eat up the time.
Yeah, you don't even do quests. You'll just like go to this building, like just sit and like, I'm like and just immerse. Yeah, I do that in Guild Wars too. Like I'll log in, I'll go to an area I don't even belong in. I just go and look at all the houses, like just explore it. Like,
dude, that game that was fucking beautiful. It's
Guild Wars,
and not beautiful like
3.
Terra. No, yours. Well, Witcher 3, no, it's kind of a depressing landscape, but Guild Wars, and not in the way that like Terra is beautiful. Terra is very well. It just looks beautiful because it's Korean art. They're very weird, but Guild Wars is like this. Like it's just a weird, very creative. The people who made that.
The thing about like games like Terra and other worlds, like Terra is beautiful, but like there are a lot of buildings that look the same. They reuse a lot of the same sprites. Guild Wars 2, as far as I can see, like doesn't really do like everywhere you go looks unique. The landscape's unique. The buildings are unique, and there's lore behind everything. I just wish the end game didn't suck so bad. But there's the world versus world PvP, which is pretty fun. But like
very different.
The end game is awesome, but
the ecosystems and the worlds and the quests, they're very different Guild Wars, which I like. What's funny is I don't know if this has any like correlation or any reason I also do this. If one time so whenever I play games, sometimes I like to drink. Like if it's on the weekend, I'll have some drinks while I'm playing. And usually I'm playing Here's the Storm, I'm drinking, and then I have a few drinks. And you can't drink too much when you're playing that game. But what I find myself doing is I'll drink at a certain pace, and if I'm immersed in something, I will stop paying attention. So I got one time I was playing. Was it Guild Wars? I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Terra, but I drank, and I drink after after I killed every creep, after every mob, and then pretty soon, it was just a beer or something. I just take a little sip, and then I'd fight, running around, fight. Fights take about 2 minutes in Terra, and then I'm finished, and I'm like, oh, nice, sip, and that's way too fast to be drinking. Like pretty soon, I was drunk, and I didn't even realize. I was like, man, I take another sip, and I was like, wait, what am I doing? I'm well beyond drunk, and then I started doing that too. I started wandering around, like, looking at trees and stuff, and be like, this is fucking beautiful. Like, or like walking into somebody's like house, and I was like, look at that pottery. Someone was over somewhere making pottery, and they wanted me to share this experience with them. That's awesome. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is, but I do the same thing if I'm like depressed or sad. Like, I'll kind of like be mopey, and I'll kind of be like, it's a beautiful sunset. There's an artist somewhere with a lot of talent. Like, I don't know.
It is a way to escape from the world when the world's bothering you, for goddamn sure.
Yeah, which escapism, like, it's an alarm word that a lot of people get scared at, but it's true. Like, in the good sense, it helps you escape. Just like exercising helps you escape. I mean, I go running whenever I feel bad sometimes, and I don't want to do it. As I'm lacing up my shoes, I'm like, oh, my fucking idiot, this is a horrible idea. And, like, I put on my shorts, I'm like, oh, God, so this isn't going to work. And then I start running, I'm like, it's worse. I'm miserable physically. Oh, and then, but at the end, I'm like, I feel better. But, yeah, like it's something about like just I like video games because you don't hate the first part of that. Like, you know, you can just start playing and you can just, like, I got through my dad died, and I got through that just by playing video games. A lot of it was because it helps you. And I played BioShock Infinite, which was like really immersive, great story.
If you want to get immersed, that's the way to do.
Yeah, yeah. So that one helped me a lot. I wouldn't be playing anything for achievement, that's for sure.
Man, okay, so like, okay, do you find this, like, if I'm wanting to get into immersion, and I usually am, like, I want to get immersed in a world that kind of breaks the rules of this one. Like, I want to get immersed in a completely different world, like Guild Wars, like BioShock, where it's similar enough that I can relate to it, but different, or I'm left like, this is magical. Like, Tomb Raider, great game, loved it, probably the best game that year. I think one of the best games of all times. Like, it gave me less of an immersion factor than other games, because like the difference, what was different about this world was, you know, the danger and the threat at all time, which was conveyed beautifully. So I got some immersion where I was like, this isn't quite the world I live in, you know, this excites me, but it still wasn't as much as something like BioShock Infinite.
Holy
do you
shit!
Ever get, do you
yeah,
ever get that?
yeah. No one's ever
Okay,
looked
cool.
at that. That's a good question because I do the same thing. Like you brought up Tomb Raider. I also love that game. Or like even if you play
Great
like
game.
Grand Theft Auto, like I like Grand Theft Auto 3. That was a fun game, and I just didn't get immersed. I just don't.
Yeah.
I wonder
Like,
what
they
that
did
is.
almost too good a job, for me at least, for my preference as a gamer. This shouldn't be transposed onto anybody else. But like, too good of a job making it exactly like the world I'm in. And if I'm, you know, wanting to explore some other world because I want to get out of this one for a bit, you know, that's not what I want. I want BioShock Infinite. Yeah, I even want Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah. Although I was immersed on like I played a game called Rise, RYSE, Son
I've
of
heard of that.
Rome. It's
Yeah.
and it's back in the Roman days, and so I got immersed into that. But maybe that's I kind of see that as almost fantasy to me because I've never been to Rome, like you know, so it's a whole different experience for me. You know, the culture and the
It's the
people.
past, so you still got, you know, you still got that going for you, is having it be different enough from this world that it's something weird. Or like Fallout 3, like I could get immersed in Fallout 3 for days. Like, it's interesting. You never know what's going to come across, what you're going to come across next, because it's a completely it's close enough that you can feel like you belong there and are there, but it's different enough that everything's intriguing. Whereas, like, you know,
Yeah,
Grand Theft Auto, like, oh, there's another car, there's another building, like, oh, they sell clothes and shit in this store, like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. But just as a caution, like this is the clinician in me, but there comes a time when you have to turn it off. And whenever I'm depressed, whenever I finish playing a game, I turn it off, and then I look at the world, like turn around my little gaming chair, and I'm like, fuck. Like, you know, there's this moment that it's not real enough. And that's been a question that we ask a lot in the research is that, you know, what if someone is socially isolated? Let's say someone's homeschooled in Kansas, you know, and they're not allowed to see other kids because, I don't know, they're not the same religion or whatever. Like maybe they're in trouble, whatever the case. Maybe they live too far away. But they've asked questions like, how many online friends do you have to make up for the amount of normal friends that you might have? But the same thing here, like how much fantasy fun can you have to make up and meaningful, you know, things you can do in a fantasy realm to make up, you know, where it actually sticks in the long run.
Man, that's a good point, and I don't know. And that, like, okay, so let's go to the, how many online friends do you have to have before it equals real friends?
Yeah.
I think that would depend largely on the person. Like, some people, like my brother, for instance, us aside, like, he doesn't really like seeing people in person. I used to think like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with him. Like, no, it's just his personality. He just doesn't like people. I think it's better for someone like him to have friends online. I think he gets more out of it. But whereas someone like you and I probably wouldn't. So I don't know on that specifically. Yeah, and then as far as, you know, how much fantasy do we need to get involved in before it's enough, until like the real world starts striking us as magical and intriguing again? Because I do get that effect. Like, if I go into Guild Wars, you know, I come back the next day, I was like, you know, maybe there's stuff to explore in this world. You know, and in fact, yeah, I think if I were to, you know, play video games 80 hours a day, I could walk outside and actually hear a bird chirping, and be like, oh wow, I could have the same effect as like playing
Yeah.
2 hours of Guild Wars in an evening, you know. So I think it's different for the person. I think well, you studied philosophy. Inductive rules. We assume the universe operates under a set of rules and they become predictable. It's why if you burn your hand on a stove one week, you don't put your hand on the stove next week. You assume the world to be consistent. But that's what makes it magical if we were to hear an animal speak.
Yeah.
And it's why we get used to it after we heard like 10 animals speak. So as long as we're just changing our conditions, often enough to where the rest of the world, suddenly seems different enough that it registers as special and magical to us, whatever that is to every person, that's how much I think you should put in.
Huh. Yeah, so it's sort of like bringing the sense of wonder or experiencing something new to reality. That's the point. Huh.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I was looking at it through a different lens. I was looking at it through like games allow you to like achieve things by proxy. Like your character is doing it, but as long as you can immerse yourself into that character enough that you kind of buy it, kind of like watching a good movie, or you watch a movie where the protagonist in the end gets killed, and you kind of sit there and you're like, holy shit, like it affects you because you immersed yourself into that movie. If you didn't, then you didn't. Obviously, if you watch and you're like just an actor, like it's not gonna do anything. But yeah, I think that's why I play RPGs at least, is so, or at least I get some sense of like, until I turn the game off, but I get some sense of like, all right, like, I'm doing things. I saved Nilfgaard or wherever, wherever I'm fighting or saving. Like, I like to do things and I like to see them through to the end as well. Like, I don't like stopping in the middle of a quest. I like to do the whole thing before I turn it off if I'm sad.
God, yeah, that just makes me think like, how magical is at the end of an RPG, like the end of Final Fantasy VI, where you're going to fight Kefka, and you've got all these friends you've made along the way, like Celes and everyone, and like now we're all as a group going to fight this last guy, and you're invested in all these storylines, and it all just like comes together, and it's awesome. Like, how much more awesome is it if you've played from level 1 in like Guild Wars 2 with him, like your 3 or 4 best friends, and you've worked all the way up through the ranks to level 80, and you get like to one of these last big dungeons, and then your real friends that you've gone through all this with actually fight it. God, that's just so. That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, like, if the 4 of us had instead decided to be basketball players, like we go and win a basketball game, like that would have been completely acceptable. But if we spend 2 hours a night like working to get to level 80 and get legendary sword and armor that we've worked for and achieved together, and gone through all these quests, fight and kill the bad guy, and so that's it until the next expansion. People are like, oh, you just sit and play video games all day. Why don't you get out and be social? I'm like, we are like. This is just like playing basketball to us, except it's stoking our creative juices rather than our biceps. And what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I got enough biceps, lady. No, there's something I do. This is kind of funny too. Is I get this. My whole life I've had a problem finishing things, like not completing.
That's what she said. Oh! Okay, sorry. No, I'm sorry.
I've had a problem like, okay, so when I used to eat sandwiches, I'm not fucking kidding you. Amy knows this about me. My wife knows this. I'll eat a sandwich until the very last bite and I put it down. I don't eat it. And then like whenever I was in shop, I had a problem finishing my stuff. I would do it all until close to the end. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I'm not going to finish that. Or stories. I'd write stories. And then at the very end, I just stopped. And
he gets to one class before his PhD.
And yeah, and then this is what's going to happen. I'm going to walk away. No, but it's because I get this sort of remorse of like, man, this is the end of an era. Like when I played Batman Arkham Knight, for example, I finished, it's the last in a trilogy of 3, well, 4 if you count Batman Arkham Origins, but that was outsourced. But basically a trilogy, the story-wise. And as I got close to the end, there's like a point where it's like, hey, they kind of let you know, in the game, it's kind of like, hey, Batman, once you do this, there's no turning back, or something, or whatever he says. It lets you know that, like, your actual character kind of breaking the fourth wall. It's like, bro, if you want to play more of the game, go and do that. And I did, like, I drew it out. I even, like, I played everything, all these dumb quests I wouldn't have done, finding Riddler trophies, because I was like, I don't want to be done. Like, I don't want this to be something I can never come back to, And so for me, like, there is a sense when I do complete something, like a video game or an RPG, when I do finish it, I do get that sense of, like, wow. But then I get the sense of, like, I like mourn the game for a while. Which is that, do you do that?
No, I finished it and I'm like, wow, this is what I set out to do. I'm good. I'm move on to the next task. But at the same time, I think maybe that's why I like games like Heroes and Leagues. Like every game is different. Like you beat the last boss of an MMO, and yeah, you can go back and beat him again. He's going to do the exact same moves. The dungeon's going to be exactly the same. Like, it has to be. But like, the next game of Heroes you play is going to be different. Like, your opponents are going to do different things. You're going to have to react differently. So those games have a lot of life for me that RPGs don't in that sense. But no, I finish them. I don't feel the need to walk away. And you can always play Blitzball forever.
Yeah, I love that game. Yeah. And I think that would be another interesting research question is, do people select games that are don't offer a lot of novelty? You know what I mean? Like, I've never played a same Heroes game twice or any MOBA, but I have played the same or very similar against AI. Like, I've played very similar games where they all kind of blend together in my head, and I'm like, I don't remember which one was which. But if you were like, hey, last time you played Butcher, what did you do? I can remember that. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this. I kept charging before I got my meat stacks. I'm an idiot, or whatever. So maybe that's part of it, too. It's that repetition. Maybe it's the double whammy. The repetition plus the safety can kind of do it. I don't know, dude. And another thing is I pace. When I get anxious, I pace. Because it's this repetition, just going back and forth. Like
okay, so we've been doing that. We've been on this show for a while. So before we have to call it an end, there's this stigma on playing video games for comfort. Like, if you do it, it's somehow a waste of your life or a waste of your time or something. When you could be out hanging out with friends, as if hanging out with friends is naturally better for every personality than sitting and immersing yourself in your own imagination. But as a psychologist, how do you feel about people who tell you, like, yeah, I play video games for comfort? Would you say there's anything wrong with that?
No, I would say, like, what do you play? And then does it make it worse or better? Because I would assume, like you said, if they're queuing up for a league match and, they're in, like, I don't know, Diamond or something, and, everything's on the line, or if they're, like, right on the cusp of falling down a rank, I'd be like, stay away from that. Because, like, those are going to sting way worse than the small victory it gives you to win, But then I would say the last thing, I would say, good. I'm glad you found something that brings you comfort. 2, also try to get the social aspect in. For some reason, because we're fucking apes, we're monkeys, right? Like, we love social interactions. And when you're depressed, you don't know it. You hate it. If your friend calls and they're like, hey, will you get your butt up and come do something with me? You're like, I don't feel like it. I'm having a horrible day, But honestly, the very best thing you could do is be like, yes, I will. And you hate it, and you hate it, and you go, and then your friends kind of help cheer you up anyway. And then even when you get home, you're like, God, that sucked. But I think there's usually a little part of you that's like, still, I think it helped, and just demonstrably it does help. So then I would say that, like, find a way to get friends into it. Like, playing, like, if you and I played Heroes together, for example, that would be a good one. I'd be like, can you meet up with some real online friends that maybe even put a little hangout up like we do with a video up there so you can see them. They can see you, they can smile at you. A lot of things we pick up from, like, some people call neurolinguistics, which is just a silly word for, like, things we pick up under our radar, like a small smirk. What's crazy is that we can tell the tiniest differences, like a millimeter of a movement on the eye, and we can tell we can pick up meaning from it. And we say, I feel like that didn't go well, or whatever. Like when someone smiles with their mouth but not their eyes, they're like you can tell it's disingenuine, and they don't know why. They just say, that looked disingenuine to me. And then we'll ask the subject, why do you think it was disingenuine? I don't know, it just felt like it. So we pick up a lot of things that we don't know why they happen, but we're usually right. And so I would say, like, do that too. Like, let your friends see that, that look in their face, look at the real joy you give them, and like you'll lie to yourself. Of course, that's part of the disease. But I'm just saying that, get yourself exposed. And then lastly, like, remember, you have to turn the game off at some point. Have something immediately there for you. Like maybe your friends meet you afterwards. They come to your house, just bring you groceries if you're really depressed, or whatever it is. And then, or like have a loved one to turn around to and to talk about your game experience, because we know that builds community too. Talking about your hobbies with a close person. So that's kind of what I'd start saying about that particular coping mechanism.
That little speech of yours there was actually pretty magical. I'm totally putting that on my blog tomorrow. That was cool. That was good.
Awesome. There's more people that read your blog than listen to this podcast. So, I love our people, man. We got a good community.
You really do.
But anyway, well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know it was kind of a weird topic and a little depressing, but
no, it's good. Like I like sincerity. Like I hate people who come all the time like, hey, it's just happy. Yeah, the rings is so insincere. I don't relate to those people.
Yeah.
Like if people are willing to be openly like talk about depressing shit, then when they're happy, that means something.
Yeah, it's true. See the ups and the downs. But cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Hopefully
Anytime,
you guys, sounds like a few people on the Facebook page could kind of understand where we're coming from, playing games comfort. So maybe we're not entirely strange. But let us know what you think. If you guys have different thoughts about this, or like maybe you figured this out a little better than we have, or something to add, you can tweet at us at twitter.com/gametheorypod, or join the Facebook page, or if you're on the Facebook page, just comment. But the Facebook page is facebook.com/groups/the Game Theory Podcast. Game Theory Podcast? The Game Theory Podcast? You'll find it. But anyway, and continue the conversation there. But until next time, I appreciate it. And David will be back next week. Sorry, JT.
Bullshit.
Unless we can beat him up. So we'll see you guys then.